KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
I like to say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion Barnett, your host. Nullifer is producing, and I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I tell you what, we got a great shows lined up for you. I'm waiting now on newly elected District 6 Dallas School Board Trustee Joyce Foreman. She should be here any time now. She should have been here, Joyce. But she should be here. And coming up at 8 o'clock, we're going to talk about AIDS. We're going to talk about AIDS and different things with the Dallas County Health and Human Health Director, Zach Thompson. So we got a good show lined up for you. Now, what we need is for you to call your state representatives. Call your state representatives. I can talk about voter suppression. We can talk about the lack of lending from lending institutions in the African American community. We can talk just about a myriad of things. But when they start dealing with your health, when they start saying that you do not need proper persons to administer to you your breathing. Now, I'm talking about these. I'm talking about the profession of respiratory therapy. When they're talking about using people that has little to no training at all, they're playing with your health. This thing has gotten serious now. It's your life on the line. I can't prove it, but I just believe this is something they got to do probably with Obamacare to try to get people, if they can have people to start dying, people will never learn the truth about what's really going on, and they can lay that at the feet of President Barack Obama. So, but when they start dealing with your health now, they start dealing with your life, and this is life-threatening. The anesthesiologist will keep you alive, keep you breathing during the operational procedure. But after you come out of there, you got to have that respiratory therapist that will keep you breathing. And if you're not breathing, you're not going to last very long. And we have got to put a stop to this madness. This is utterly ridiculous. I've talked with several doctors about this. They can't believe it. They just don't believe that this could be happening, that the state legislature here in the state of Texas would say you can have someone else administered rather than a trained professional who knows how to do it. These people have to go to college. They have bachelor's and master's degrees and doctorates, and they're trained to do this, to keep you alive. People, I need you to do me a favor. You can call them today. I don't care if the office is not open. Leave a message. I'm going to give you out some phone numbers to different legislators, and we're going to get some more of this, and we're going to have those others people back on that we had on last week. Going to have them back on in a couple of weeks, and have some other people on, doctors, to ask you all to call every state legislator in the state of Texas. We're going to start. I need you to get your pen and paper out. I need y'all to call these people. I'm not talking about some political or civil rights issue now. I'm talking about your life. This is your life now. If you got somebody that don't know how to keep you alive, Many times people go and get into some type of respiratory problem after, well, it doesn't really have to be an operation. It can be different things. You need somebody there to know how to jumpstart you, how to keep you alive. All right, get your pen and paper out. Get your pen and paper out, and let me give out these numbers. State Senator Royce West, his number is 214-467-0123. State Senator Royce West, 214-467-0123. State Representative Yvonne Davis, 214-941-3895. State Legislator Helen Giddings, 214-943-4120. State Legislator Tony Rose, 214-371-3390. State Legislator Eric Johnson, 214-565-5663. And if you missed any of these and needed, just call me. I will give them out. I'll give them out again over the air. I'm dealing with something that's the ultimate here on this earth. Your life, my life. Anybody can go into a respiratory problem at any time. You need some professionals who know what they're doing to administer this care. You can call me if you have questions or comments. 972-647-1893. Still waiting on School Board Trustee Joyce Foreman. She should be coming. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. But I am dealing with the most important thing you have here on earth. The other part, God takes care of that. But you should look out for your own health here on earth. And you should not allow politics to dictate whether people live or die. Politics should not dictate this. They're playing games. They know good and well that they, who have the best of insurance, best of everything, are going to have a therapist there, a respiratory therapist there that's highly trained, highly skilled, and highly professional. But you might get into a situation whereas you going into a situation where maybe you don't have insurance or don't have the best insurance. They will not insist on having the best trained people there, and you get some person who really just don't know what they're doing, and you die. It's just that simple. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. I'm talking about life and death here. All right, let's go to line 4 and say good morning to Esquire. All righty. Good morning, Esquire.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett. How are you?
Fine. How are you this morning?
Okay, I had to call because I just had some foot surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And first somebody came to me before they got ready. It was an anesthesiologist. I can't say the word.
Anesthesiologist?
Yes, sir. He was. Mm-hmm. Very short little fella. He said, I'm going to take care of you and everything, and everything will be okay. Mm-hmm. So then my doctor came in. But the bottom line is I didn't realize that I had one of the top doctors in this area.
Yeah.
I've been knowing her a long time, but I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you do have to have the right people.
You better have the right people. You don't want, you wouldn't want that doctor who dropped out after a year and a half of medical school. You wouldn't want him doing open heart surgery, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Well, this is what, see, these characters are playing with our lives now.
I didn't know it was like that.
Well, it's gotten just that bad.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
and the people out of MD Anderson, the top cancer center in the world,
right?
They contacted me because they listen to us by way of internet.
Yes, right.
They listen to us, and they contacted me and asked me to have them on, and they were telling me about this, and I thought about it. I said, wait a minute, if we're talking about somebody that keep you alive, we're talking about life and health, life and death.
Right. You're right about that.
And people, y'all need to wake up out there.
Yeah.
And
Well, actually,
do you have any of these numbers to call these legislators? You can call as many as you want. You can call them all.
I
Make
know
sure you
some.
call yours.
Yeah, I'm gonna call. I'll call them and talk to all of them. I have. I took the ones you gave me down.
Okay.
But anyway, the last thing I wanted to say was, I'm thankful to be here because, like you just said,
Yeah.
it didn't have to be that way.
When you lying down and they getting ready to put you to sleep,
That's right.
you don't know if you're going to wake up again.
Wake up or not. You're close to death right there.
You right at the point of death.
That's right.
I was listening to, what's the doctor's name? That was Michael Jackson's doctor the other day. They had
Forget his name. Conrad?
Yeah, Conrad,
Is
whatever it is.
Okay.
But he said that Michael already had a stash of propofol.
Ooh.
And see, propofol is the type of drug that puts you right at the point of death.
It's quick, too.
Yeah, and that was the only way he could sleep.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Sleep deprivation. But he said many times Michael would take this stuff and wouldn't let him know it, and he'd come in and administer something else, not knowing Michael had already taken that other stuff.
That's true. And
he said they just used him as a scapegoat.
That's all they did.
Send him to prison.
That's all they did. They knew probably because they had the type of machines and everything that test that stuff.
Yeah,
they know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I just want to tell you I put your pledge in the mail.
Okay, thank you very much.
You too.
All righty, thank you, Esquire. All righty, 972-647-1893. People, we're talking about life and death here. We're not talking about all of these other things we talk about is very important. Voter suppression. We're talking about your civil rights. We talk about human rights. We're talking about rights of women, rights of people in general. And we discuss those things, and those things are very important. But now we're talking about your life. These guys are playing politics with your life. And believe me, the mainstream media is not talking about this. They're not talking about it. They want these characters to slip this by you, and then when you find it out, it's too late. It has become law. They are 100% sure that the governor is going to sign it. Rick Perry, that sounds about like Rick Perry. We need to get on our high horses and elect us another governor come November. I'm not supposed to say that, but we do need the lady is a good candidate for the people. I'm talking for the people now. I'm not talking about for a whole bunch of folk that got money who could care less and they're going to have the best anyhow. But for the masses of people, we need to wake up. We need to wake up. And you can call me at 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. We need to find out, and we need to get these legislators. Call them. Ask them to call other legislators. They need to lobby some for us. This vote is supposed to come, I'm told, August 3rd. I don't know if they're going to have to call a special session of the state legislature or how this is going to come. But we want to put this on our legislators' minds. There are more in Dallas County than I just gave out. These you call. Get other people to call others, and you call others than the ones I've given you. Call these, but make sure we call everybody. Get everybody in on this to stop this. And because if you're there lying flat on your back and you're helpless, you want the very best trained, the most well-trained, most well-educated person working on you. Just because maybe you don't have insurance, or maybe they just will use somebody because they see who's lying there, or if they don't think you have a lot of money, they'll use just anybody. But we want to keep the very, very best professional people on the job with this. These people do a lot of things that you don't even know about because you are asleep. So let us call our state legislator and tell them we want to keep professional respiratory therapists on the job. We want to keep them on the job. I tell you what, we got about 2 minutes. All right. Let me give these names out again. And these are legislators. State Senator Royce West, 214-467-0123. State Legislator Yvonne Davis, 214-941-3895. State Legislator Helen Giddings, 214-943-4120. State Legislator Tony Rose, 214-371-3390. State Legislator Eric Johnson, 214-565-5663. Call these. Ask them to lobby. Ask them to vote against this, but ask them to lobby to get others. We need some Republicans to vote against this. There are a lot of Republicans who will be endangering the lives of their own people. They represent districts and represent people that would be highly effective. But there are people there that's going to be going into the creme de la creme when it comes to health care and getting that. And we'll be going and making sure they have only the top people working on them. But everybody needs the best of health care. Okay, I'm up against a short break, and you can call me at 972-647-1893. I'll be right back. All right, we're back on Church Information Open Forum. We're hoping to hear from Miss Joyce Foreman in just a few moments. And we've gotten word here that they are offering County Commissioner John Riley Price. They tried to offer him, I guess, some type of settlement or whatever to plead guilty, but he says he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. He's not going to sell himself short, sell himself cheap. He's not going to take a plea bargain. He's going to fight this all the way. Well, he is. He's going to fight it. How? Do you think, what's going on with this? Do you think this is just a witch hunt after the commissioner? Y'all think, see, there are some people who don't believe that these people will do witch hunts and try to get and break down certain people to quieten them, to make them act right. Maybe you believe that direction. Maybe you believe he's guilty. I don't know. But you think he's right for not taking the plea bargain? Standing up and fighting this? I don't know. I know if I'm not guilty, I'm not going to take no plea bargain. I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't fold over. I'm sorry. I got a congestion in my chest. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't fold over. I wouldn't roll over. No. Fight this to the hilt. If he's innocent, he will fight it all the way. Let's fight it all the way. 972-647-1893. What do you think about this situation? Do you think he's one of the targets? I was in Detroit here a while back, and every black politician in Detroit was going to prison. What do you think about something like that? What's going on? This is happening nationwide. What do you think? What do you think? Nationwide. Now, this has been reported to me this morning, that they offered him a chance to plea bargain, but he'd rather go to trial, ready to fight this. Would you fight it? Even if you knew you were guilty and they might cook up something maybe not true. I don't put nothing past people. How do you feel about it? Nilifer, what would you do in a situation like this? You know you're not guilty. The feds are after you. The most powerful government in the world is breathing down your neck And
It sounds like a movie, right?
you sure do. What do you think about this? What would you plead bargain just to say maybe they let me off light or whatever, knowing that you are innocent? What would you do?
Now, I am going to say I don't know too much about the actual charges in the case and everything that's actually going on. But if I was truly innocent, I would hope that the system would work, and I wouldn't take the plea bargain.
Mm-hmm. All right. You can call us at 972-647-1893. I just, do you trust the federal government? Do you trust them to do what's right, to present what's right? Maybe they have evidence, maybe they don't. What do you think about this? This is serious business because federal time usually is day for day. So I don't know about a situation like this, and I hate to see this thing coming down like this. 972-647-1893. Let's go to line 1 and say good morning to Black Hawk. All righty.
Hey, Ron Barnett, we need John White Price to come see me when I got beat up by police. And if you want to donate, send your funds to John White Price, 47 Elm Street. You're going to need a lot of help.
Well,
Black Hawk, I don't believe he did it. It's the only thing we got. It is a witch hunt.
You think it's a witch hunt?
Damn witch hunt. That's what the hell it is.
Yeah, well.
And
he's up against the most powerful government on earth. Yeah.
I kept up with. I remember when he first come to Dallas before into Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always been a fighter for us, That's the only thing we got right now. And so send your funds to John White Price Defense Fund. No donations. You're going to need a lot of help.
Yeah, they took, I'm hearing several $100,000 away from him.
Yeah, I know it, and they gave it back. He made him give it back.
Oh, did they give it back?
Hell yeah, they made him give it back. They got nothing against that guy, man.
All right. Okay.
Okay. All right. Black Hawk.
Mm-hmm. All right. All of our lines are filled right now. I'm waiting for the list to come down to me.
We have Doc on too, sir.
Doc on line too? All right. Come on, Doc.
Yeah, real money.
Yes,
I don't understand this. They've been after that man for the last 3 years, and they went in his house and took $200,000 out of his safe.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a sin? Is it wrong to have money, a safe in your house? I didn't know it was.
Well, no, as far as I know, it's not, unless it's some type of federal law of holding currency. That's the only. But I've never heard of it. I've heard of certain things, but no, I've never heard of it.
And these cars that he got, he bought them. I mean, the man is making good money on the commissioner's court. I don't understand why they keep messing with him.
You don't?
No, I mean, I can't understand why every time you look up, they trying to get him, and the man is not doing anything wrong.
Okay. Yeah. All righty. Okay, then. We thank you. We thank you for your call. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. 972-647-1893. Let's go with Tony on line 3. All righty. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Rip. How you doing?
Fine. How are you?
All right. I call more or less to talk about Mississippi and how the Democrats in Mississippi leverage their voting bloc. All the black Democrats in Mississippi leverage their voting bloc.
Yeah, they leverage it against the Tea Party?
Yes, and see, my thing is, if you're a Democrat in Texas, understanding where we are right now, we never have used that. We always try to elect people who's not going to win. We know Wendy Davis is not going to win. We already know that off the top.
You don't think Wendy Davis have an opportunity to win?
No, because at first I thought she did. Number one is this. She already had Democratic votes. In the rural areas, they're worried about fracking right now. And these are Republican strongholds. She had not mentioned anything about that.
But Tony, not cutting you off, let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
What's the definition of a person who works against their own self-interest?
Suicide.
No, there's a definition. The Bible calls them a certain thing. A person that works against their own self-interest. The Bible describes that person and calls them a name.
Yeah, give it to me.
A fool. Now, many of these people in these rural areas and everything, you know good and well that those rich Republicans there in Austin or in Washington or wherever they might be could care less about them. But they still, I guess, in order to try thinking they're just hurting black people, will vote in favor with those Republicans who could care less about them and do everything they can to hurt them. So, I mean, and it's no other way to describe it. They're downright fools. They're downright fools. They're voting against their own self-interest.
Reverend, you're right, because I found out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that there's only 4 counties in the state of Texas. We have about 200 some counties. Only 4 counties decide the fate of the state. 10 counties in the state of Texas. And most of them are big cities. The rest of the rural areas do not count for as making the governor or the major policymakers in Texas. And the reality is that some of these same people who I was doing with yesterday, and they were talking about the workers' comp program in Texas, how bad it is. And I said this: guess who voted for them? Y'all did. We had 48 years of a Bush, and you have so many years of a Perry. Y'all voted these guys in, and now when y'all get hurt at work, y'all blame workers' comp. But you don't understand your vote made that possible.
Right. Well, you see, now workman's comp used to be a lot better than it is now. You used to get after you, they pay your bill for being hurt on the job. Then you used to get a lump sum that would get you started back and get you going. But no, workman's comp got shut down. George Bush shot down the insurance lobby. You can only get so much insurance and everything. So I mean, these people that vote, that trying to hurt black people, they don't realize they're in this worse shape of black people, just as bad or worse in some cases. So that's the fools that work against their own self-interest.
And my last point still is that I'm glad somebody in the Democratic Party in Mississippi said this. Rather than just take people like Ted Cruz and have them act a fool, we'd rather vote a moderate Republican in than to have some person like Ted Cruz or Greg Abbott and them get in office to appeal to a small minority. And to me, it is a shame that the Democratic Party, I'm calling out the Royce Wizards and all these black Democrats, if you know you're not going to win, at least leverage the vote, like voting power to vote in Republican elections.
Something I need for you to do, Tony. I need you to call these people's names and that I've called off, these in state legislators and Royce and state senator, all of them. Ask them to vote against this. Dear, I don't know. They seem to be deprofessionalizing the respiratory therapists. You don't need nobody working on you that has no real professional training.
I will.
Please. Y'all can call today. Their officer will have a recording. Just take it, leave it on there. Jam their lines. Call them and call them Monday. Call them all week to make sure that they lobby other legislators to do this. All righty. Okay, thank you for your call. We got someone here in the studio now. They came in, they run right back out, and in just a second we'll be welcoming our newly elected District 6 trustee for the Dallas Independent School District. Someone that we are praying that we're going to stick with them, but. This thing with the county commissioner, I guess there are some whites that are prosecuted, but to me, and I've looked at this thing, and I get my grandkids or some of them pull stuff up on the internet for me. I get Neil to pull up something for me about now on this. It just seems to be so disproportionately high among black politicians. It's just I went to Detroit, and every black politician in town was in jail. It's just something wrong. But we got to deal with that. But right now, we'd like to welcome to the KNON. Now she's in the studio, so they hit the hotline to our microphones. We'd like to welcome newly elected District 6 School Board Trustee, Miss Joyce Foreman. Good morning, Miss Foreman.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett.
How are you this morning?
I'm good.
The alarm clock did not go off.
Yes.
you just didn't get up then.
Yes.
Wow.
It's been a very interesting few days after being elected, and I'm still trying to get my bearings, but I'm here.
Everybody pulling in from every direction, huh?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Well, you know,
That's okay.
everybody wants a favor now.
Well,
you Miss Woman now.
I don't know about the favor, but people are talking and want to express how they feel about what's going on in our public schools. And I'm here to listen and try to do what the public wants and needs for our children.
Home rule. Charter schools. This is to call it like it is, because sometimes people might be.
That's what it is.
All charter schools.
All charter school district?
Yeah.
I'm against that. I publicly have stated that, and I continue to remind people that charter schools are an option. They should not be the rule. Mm-hmm. And that while our district needs some things, we do not need a home rule charter district. Mm-hmm. Because if you talk to the people that are for it, mostly what they talk about is not about educating our
No, they never talk about children. They never even mention children.
They always talk about the governance. Mm-hmm. And they really want to take over our schools by appointing the officials rather than electing the officials. Mm-hmm. And I've lived long enough to see us go through 14-1 and single-member districts and the fight we've had for that. And I am not one that wants to go back to that, because clearly when they talk about appointments, that doesn't mean appointing the right people to represent me.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you any idea how these appointments are going to come about? Now, I know you all, the board, supposed to pick, 15 people?
They've already chosen the 15 commissioners. They've been chosen.
How did they get, who are they?
Well, I don't know them all. Clearly, I just went to my first board meeting. Mm-hmm. But I do know that the appointment for District 6 is Attorney Marcus Ranger.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about that particular appointment.
Okay, that's a good one.
Because mm-hmm. I know him and have known him for years, and I know that he is going to do the right thing mm-hmm. about protecting our children and what goes on that commission.
Okay. Break time? I tell you what, y'all can call us at 972-647-1893, and we'll be back in just one moment. All right, we're back on Church Information and Open Forum. I'm Marion, Barnett, your host, Nilla First producing, and our special guest this morning is Miss Joyce Foreman, trustee for District 6. And if you have questions or comments for Ms. Foreman, you have it right here in person, 972-647-1893. I know many of you have ideas and things that you want done, things you want protected. You can call her and make your whatever you need, make it known already. I'm not going to hog all the time questioning her. I want you to ask the questions, and we'll get her back on at 7 o'clock, and so we can, we can have a real conversation with her. All right, catch the lines, and Okay, go to line one. What you say, Bub? What was Skipper? All righty. Good morning, Skipper.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett.
Fine. How are you this morning?
Pretty good, pretty good. I just want to say a few things. You know, number one, we as black people, we need to know our history, because we've been put through stuff. As far as like being free, they mistreated us then. 2 years later, they let us know, and as far as commissioner, that's a good man. You can call and talk to him anytime you want to. I have, and you talk to him, anything. But the main thing, what they're doing, they want to take away our voice. They're doing it all over. We come together strong, but we can't come together if we don't hear what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they don't want you to know, as far as like voting, they putting in who they want, not who you voted in. They just tell you that this person was voted in.
Well, let me say something, Skipper. I think we had one of the, finest elections we ever had in this city on last Saturday. We had the powers structure against the people with the George Foreman and Bertha Watley. This was the people supported Ms. Foreman. Ms. Watley was supported by those who are with this homeroom district. These are millionaires and billionaires. I've never seen 1/10 of that type of money ever spent in a school board election, not even a 1/10. Usually, if you can muster up $10,000, that's a whole lot of money for a school board election. This lady had well over $100,000 spent, and she got it from people that was really not from District 6. And but our people, hey, I'm so proud of District 6, I don't know what to do. Y'all turned out, y'all showed them that they are not, your vote was not for sale. They showed them. Ms. Foreman won 2-1 against God knows how much money was this lady spent to be elected. So that was one of the finest hours in Dallas history when it come to voting and voting rights and people standing up for their rights. You can go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, and the main thing they want to do is take away our voice. Take it and see.
Well, maybe we waking up. I don't know. Maybe we waking up.
But we wait too late to wake up. All they have to do is listen. Listen to what you're saying, and come together. And see, once they start seeing that, then they'll be trying to take away your station. And see, what we need to do, we need to come together and have our own station. Our own, not just, black owned. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm 1,000% with all of that. This station was really started by a black man. Most people don't know it. Leon Gowan put up $45,000 with his property to get this station going and own the air. So let's not sell everything short. I understand what you're talking about on the other side. How well do I understand? But don't sell Knon short, because it was a black man, the president of this board for years, that started this station. All righty. Thank you. 972-647-1893. 972-647-1893. And 1893. Let's go to Doc. You're on with Miss Foreman. All righty. Doc, you there?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Barnett, the voting, I listened to the president the other day, and this guy, Maynard, the Speaker of the House, said he's going to sue him. And the president said that he's not going to apologize for using his executive privileges. He said he's trying to do something, and he's going to keep on using it as long as he can, because he is trying to do don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the things that are happening in Washington, and quite naturally, everything that he will do. The Republicans have walked in lockstep against him ever since 2009 when he was inaugurated January 20th. That night they were meeting to make sure they would be against anything and everything he do. And I tell you what, if we don't go to the polls and vote, and if the Republicans was to take the Senate, believe me, they would impeach him. All right, thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Ms. Woman, what do you plan to do? And your first 4 years, what are you planning? What's your plans to do?
Well, as you know, the board basically does policy for the district, and there are several things that I'm interested in, but I'm starting out with a full-day pre-K for all children, not just some of the children that qualify for the full-day pre-K. I want to revisit the discipline policy. Discipline seems to be a big issue for the district. Many of our kids are sent over to the alternative schools where I think they don't get the services that they need. So therefore, I'm looking at trying to bring about some policies that would have in-school suspension for junior high and high school to keep our kids in a learning environment, to make sure that they continue on the track to graduation.
So we won't have our principals, really, they're not principals, they're wardens. In a lot of these alternative schools, I got one near me over there, and that's a prison, that's not a school. And see, the children get used to that environment, and they're going straight to prison from that.
Straight to prison, and I'm just firmly against that. I think they've got to figure out a better way, and part of that has to do with the policies that we've set in place as a board.
What about zero tolerance?
Well, zero tolerance is kind of nebulous because when you talk about zero tolerance, that means that kids can't do anything before they're sent away, and I'm not for that. I'm for the principal getting more control over the schools and being able to work with the children, and not being the principals are penalized if teachers send kids to the office. We've got to change that.
But now,
that whole mindset.
These schools are still having police officers there at the school, on campus, and they, you grew up in a time when it wasn't nothing. You see two boys get into a fist fight.
Sure. Absolutely.
And then an hour later, they walking buddies.
Right.
But today, they're suspended. They're given a criminal record. This is not just by happenstance.
It's by design.
What do you think is something that you could do to effect this situation, to stop this man? This is utterly ridiculous. Sending kids, putting them out of school and everything, destroying their lives.
Well, I totally agree with you. And again, that goes back to revisiting the entire discipline policy that the district has, and trying to get a better understanding on how it affects our children and what will happen to these children when they're kicked out of school. So we've got a lot of work to do, and of course I've got to convince 4 other people that what I want is right for the district. And another thing that I'm looking at is trying to ensure that we have effective teachers in front of every student. And we've talked about that before, but I've seen the decline in the teacher pool, especially the experienced teachers, in the last 3 to 4 years. And so that's something I also want to be looking at.
But can't we all come on and be honest about it? We in our school system, especially during years back and over the years, we lived off the backs of women. Many of those women that taught us, had they had the opportunity as it presents itself today, they would have been in corporate America. So we had some brilliant people to teach us Very brief. It showed up right after so-called integration came along. Black children were making higher scores than white children. But somehow this thing, they put a stop to this, and it just seemed to turn and went into in a diverse situation. It's misdirected itself. Now our children are scoring at the bottom. What do you think? What do you think? How could you fix this? Could you invite? Would you like to see the salaries of teachers raised that they can compete against corporate America?
Well, I don't actually think it's the competition against corporate America. It was teaching was an honored profession.
Right.
When I was in school, the teachers
well respected.
They well respected in the community, and a lot of the teachers came from colleges where they learned how to teach. We don't really have that now. A lot of the people in our schools are young people from different organizations like Teach for America who haven't had any training. And we all know that teaching the subject matter is one thing, but teachers also brought about something else in the classrooms. And you don't quite see that now, where teachers were role models, they were guiding principles, they were everything that you had at home and more in some cases. And so we have to look at the money is an issue so that you are competitive with other school districts. But we've got to get back to making teaching that profession that people want to choose.
Yeah, and somehow I don't know where we lost it. We started degrading teachers. Parents would come up there and curse them out, and all that didn't used to be. It used to be, once upon a time, if a teacher told it on you, it was the gospel, and you were going to pay severely. If a teacher had to send a note home or came by your house, you were in big trouble. All right, let's go to Ike and say good morning to Ike on line 3. Good morning, Ike.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett.
Fine. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, and you're having a great program. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Ms. George Foreman for winning the election. And
thank you.
It was, to me, it was historical because it showed that, you know, if the voters get out and vote, we can beat the big banks, you know, because even like the election was trying to beat, they were trying to pay for an election, but thank God for all the community people that supported you to win this election. But, and my question is, you know, so much talk about pre-K, you know, going to school now. And I was so concerned about the stipulations of the policy they got for accepting these 4-year-olds in the school. And one of them was they had to qualify for free lunch, and they had to have a hard time understanding and interpret the English language. So to me, that's kind of like isolating a lot of people out of it, and not trying to sound racist, but it's like it was most Hispanics don't qualify for that, while a lot of our young African-American children are not. So can you explain that to me, or kind of tell me what can we do to change these policies so, you know, it can be equal across the board? Because if my grandchildren can't go to pre-K and I'm paying taxes, and somebody who's not paying taxes, grandkids can go to pre-K, they getting a jump start on my grandkids. So explain that to me.
Ike, you are absolutely correct. There is a flaw in the policy, but part of that has to do with state law. But what we have to do is make sure that the schools in the predominantly African American areas also offer pre-K.
Right.
What has happened in the past is that they picked which schools would offer pre-K, and many of them were not in our area. So one of the things I will be looking at is where all the schools are that offer pre-K, and making sure that District 6 will be able to offer pre-K, which there are a lot of schools in our area that are predominantly African American. And that was the first thing that troubled me when I started looking at the criteria for getting into pre-K, because I am a firm believer and was taught by Dr. Ewell and Ms. Gillum, if children are reading at grade by the 3rd grade, their chances of finishing high school are greater. And so that's why we have to focus on getting these kids ready so they can read early.
Can I ask one more question? And you might not want to answer this. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, but there's been a lot of talk in these schools. A lot of your black kids are being held back while Hispanic kids are trying to, upgrade them to be able to speak English. So if your kid is sitting in a class and he understands the English language and he can read very well, he's sitting there just dormant doing nothing while they're trying to, get some Hispanic kid or some other kid from another country to understand what's really being taught. So is that true? You could elaborate on that.
I don't know if that's true, but what I will say is, and I do believe, if you have young African American children in classes that are bilingual, the majority of the kids in there are going to be limited English speaking, and that African American kid will suffer because of that. And there has to be a way that we look at that to make sure that that's not happening.
Okay. Well, thank you, and y'all have a great day, and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Ike. Oh, boy, we only have about 2 minutes left. We haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg. We just think, we just know one's out there. A dangerous iceberg is out there. You have a heck of a job before you. You're following a great trustee, Ms. Carla Ranger.
Yes.
And District 6 is a very unique district because you have the black middle class, and you have a portion of low-income black people. You have a very unique district, and it's going to take a lot of hard work to bring this thing about. But you also have some very, very conservative board members on there too. That's going to almost walk in lockstep against anything you say. How you feel like you can deal with that?
Well, I'm not new. I'm not new to the district. I know all of the board members, and I know that many of them will be against what I try to bring. But I have a charge and a mandate by District 6 residents to be a voice for the children and to be outspoken. I have no problems with being outspoken. I'm firm, I'm deliberate, but I'm fair.
All right. Could you hold on 1 second? We got to take a short break, and we're going into the second hour. But could you hold 1 second? We'll be right back. All right, we are back for hour number 2 of Church Information and Open Forum. We are happy to have a young man here in the studio. It's a scourge on our community. It's something that has terrorized this whole nation. And it was first introduced right here on KNON by this young man. We had never heard the term used for drugs. It was known as crack cocaine.
That's right.
He introduced it on KNON. Nobody had ever heard of it. What was this, in 86?
86.
1986.
Right.
When you came on and told us about something coming to town.
That's right.
Called crack. Wow. It was first, Los Angeles and Miami. How did it come? Could you tell us that story?
We basically were seeing the trends of crack cocaine coming out of Miami. We saw it in New York. And then, of course, everyone saw the movie New Jack City. And so as you saw the trends, everybody was focused on cocaine, but the crack was infiltrated in terms of the African-American community. And you can see today the devastation and the psychological impact that crack has had on our community. You just look at the prison system. When you look at the number of people who are incarcerated because of addiction, and that tells us today that this started in the 80s. And look where we are, and look at our community today.
Zach, I don't care how small the community is, you find crack.
Right.
I don't care how affluent the community is.
You find it.
You find crack.
Right.
You find it in every segment of our society. I've never seen nothing like this before. We got people that I have friends that I went to college with, college graduates. They're walking around out of their minds.
Zombies, yeah.
Behind crack cocaine.
Right. Well, and when you look at it, we talked about it back in '86. We talked about the fact that this mimics the pleasure center of your neurotransmitters.
Okay.
And so what happens is crack cocaine, and people always say, well, they keep going back because they can never get enough. And you don't have treatment facilities to deal with this addiction. The issue we have today in Dallas County and throughout the United States is called dual diagnosis, mental health and substance abuse addiction. And you don't have enough programs to deal with the issue of crack cocaine, and we're seeing the mental health issues associated with the crack cocaine.
Well, let me ask you something philosophical then. You got a crack habit. I'm lawman. Should I grab you and take you and throw you in prison? Or should I have a program of hospitals and different things, different healthcare professionals to treat you? Do you think what's going on with this war on drugs? Is it valid, or why are people being locked up in one area of town? They're just terrible in one area of town if they use crack. But if you go to a suburb up in Collin County, our poor children are using this, and we got to do something about it and help our poor children. But then they use it in South Dallas. They need to be locked up, and the key needs to be thrown away. What do you think about this?
Well, we lost the war on drugs. That's why you see the incarceration.
Was there ever really a war on drugs?
Never was a war on drugs in terms of dealing with it in minority communities. The war on drugs was dealt with from a superficial standpoint. But when you look at the minority community, we saw the devastation of crack cocaine in our Hispanic community. We saw inhalants, and now we're seeing this K2. So let me show you the example that we can bridge the 80s to the 21st century. You got a synthetic drug out there now with K2. That's that marijuana.
Is that the one they busted what they call them shops?
Right.
Yeah, smoke shops or whatever they are.
Right, so that's synthetic. And so what you're seeing in African American communities, Hispanic community, is marijuana that's laced with the synthetic chemicals that's now doing the same thing that was being done with the crack cocaine.
Is that right?
And so you don't see a lot of discussion about it, but in one weekend in Dallas County, we had close to 25 or more overdoses in Dallas County. And so when you look at it, it's under the radar, but it's not under the radar in your community.
I didn't hear this on the news.
They kind of did a little blurb, and then they went on to something else. But in our community, you're going to see the K2 being sold, the marijuana. In other communities, you're seeing the other synthetic drugs being sold, but in our community, marijuana is a K. Now that ties into this whole STD, HIV scenario, because what you pointed out earlier is that these individuals have now lost their capacity to think or to think rationally, and they make bad decisions. But when you look at cocaine addiction, crack cocaine, and in everybody's family in Dallas, I'm sure they've been touched by addiction.
There's no family that have more than 4 or 5 members.
That's right.
That hasn't been touched some kind of way.
Right.
With this addiction. But now, that's what it is. Is it addiction? Should it be a criminal offense? Is it an illness? Why is it our prisons are filled?
Well, I think the prisons are filled because they realize that you can't put everybody in jail. But here's the dynamics. You got the drug cartel. And so people will use this analogy. I hear it a million times. We don't own the planes. We don't own the fields that these things are growing in. We're not planting it, but we're the ones using it. And so the key point is that it's by design that it's being sent here. and they're preying on our low self-esteem, low self-worth, or someone connecting us to it. And so by us taking a substance, now here's the deal with cocaine or any of these stimulants, they're working on your neurotransmitters, and let's be real blunt, from the first use, you're going to like it. That's just how addictive this particular drug. So should we lock them up?
Can you get hooked on the first?
In most cases, people do get hooked
on the first use.
On the first time, because here's the deal about addiction, is that you keep looking for that first high, and that euphoric or that feeling that you receive from that particular high is what keeps driving them back. They'll never get to where they were from the first time, but they're on a eternal seeking that keeps seeking it. And so with crack cocaine, it's a quick high, and so then when they come down, they gotta buy some more. But in terms of the criminal piece in this, we have to have programs, but since you don't have programs, Reverend Barnett, the only program you got is the prison system. Because in meetings I attend, when you start talking about dual diagnosis, when you start talking about crack cocaine, in the 80s, they were talking about alcoholism. In the 80s, they were just talking about marijuana. Okay, look where we evolved now in terms of legalization of marijuana. So we've evolved to where we're accepting the substance abuse.
In fact, some places is really legal.
And it's going to probably be throughout the United States.
But when we see the person that get addicted in South Dallas, Oak Cliff, Pleasant Grove, versus the young person that gets addicted in Plano, other parts, other affluent areas, South Lake, different things like that. One is treated as a illness. The other is treated as a criminal offense.
That's right. Because if your child today got addicted to crack cocaine or any substance south of the Trinity, I challenge anyone to find where you can go for no cost or low cost treatment south of the Trinity. Mental health.
There are no treatment beds in the southern sector?
I hadn't seen them.
Okay. Who would be responsible? Your Dallas County Health Director? Would you get Dallas County funding? Would you get state funding? Would you get federal funding?
I think it has to be federal and state funding, and there has to be a challenge in our community to say we need prevention, intervention, and treatment services south of the Trinity, and we need to focus on dual diagnosis, which is mental health and substance abuse. Because what we find today is that when you're doing assessments on young people, this is a different time than when you and I were coming up. You have now most kids who already identify with mental health issues. And so the question is, when you're treating them, you got to be able to treat both the mental health and the substance abuse issue. And that south of the, but let me say, across the board, that's a challenge. But as you saw with the kid that had the affluenza, his parents can afford to send him somewhere. In terms of your child or my child, we don't have that money to send for treatment.
Okay, here I am. I'm Joe Blow, and people have always put me down, and I just don't feel good about myself. Am I looking for something to make me feel better by taking this drug?
The key point in this is that what studies have shown is that experimentation is where the challenge is. Curiosity killed the cat. People are going to try things. We're never going to get past that. The issue is when
that's how we fell in sin with Adam.
That's right. And so what happens is when you try substances or crack cocaine that is highly addictive, you're now dealing with the addiction and the mental health challenges that you might already have. Now you have a stimulant that's telling you that in order to feel good, I must use this substance. I'm also dealing with low self-esteem, low self-worth. Let's be real clear. We're talking about mental health. Any given day, any given time, people can get depressed. The problem is that where is the support system? Where is the aftercare or services that can support you, that you can deal with this? If I'm a corporate or a millionaire, I can pay someone $500 an hour to tell me I'm doing good, come see me every morning and cheer me up. Right. But if you and I, when we get up in the morning, we just pray and we ask God to guide us.
Make us another day.
Right. Yeah. And with absent of that, most people don't. Yeah, it's about. But I don't want to say mental health from the standpoint of a negative. I'm saying mental health is a positive, and how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves is key.
So, do our community have enough psychologists and psychiatrists that could really see somehow in the black community to go see a psychologist, a psychiatrist? That's just negative.
South of the Trinity, if you have an episode, I don't know where you're going to go. South of the Trinity, if you have an episode tonight and you need to rush your child or loved one to get some mental health emergency, there is Apple is a program that can connect you. But other than that, in terms of beds and connectivity to get to a 24-hour location, there could be one, but in most of the meetings I've attended, most of them are going to be north. And so if you have an episode with your child, you would almost have to get them to Parkland or to an emergency location. But here's the key. We got to deal with no use, no experimentation of these drugs. We're going to have to identify with our kids early on mental health challenges that they have. Right now, we hear bullying. That's an issue. Bullying, as we know it, we've always dealt with bullying. Yeah. But we had a support system community-wide. Now, these kids are isolated. These children are isolated because how many kids you see playing outside now? You see more inside on video games, etc. They're caught up in the social media. And so the pressure is on them more so. While it looks like they're doing well, mentally they're not. And that's where the person, same thing with addiction, same thing with HIV/AIDS. People are working on the psychic of these individuals, and your point is there is no place to go south of the Trinity. And if it is, I challenge anyone to step up to the plate and direct families to where they are.
And I want to ask the question, maybe sound stupid, but there are a lot of people don't see it. Is HIV still deadly?
HIV, in terms of the African American community, has been. It's evolved since Magic Johnson. I want
because people still see Magic walking around, looking healthy and everything. But now it's been over 20 years since Magic announced he had the virus.
Right. When Magic announced he had the virus, everyone saw this as a white gay male disease. 20 years later, we're seeing the epidemic move to African American men, MSMs, men who have sex with men, and African American women. The new infection rate in Dallas County, the new infection rates that we're seeing statewide are tied to the increase in African American MSM and African American women. And if you look at the scenario where the 31-year-old or the whatever age he was,
he was 31, something like that, and the girl was 15.
And where he infected her, that's a microcosm of what we're seeing in our community. And so we have to deal with protection. We got to talk about it in our church, about condom use. We're going to have to focus on the issue is the same thing in terms of substance experimentation. Okay, they're going to experiment.
Right.
Churches are going to have to make a commitment to have HIV education, STD prevention discussions as young as, and this may be the challenge, that's something we have to talk with our ISDs. We got to start talking about this at elementary school age.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we don't, then this unprotected sex is going to contribute to the proliferation, which we're seeing in African American community. Statewide, 40% of the new HIV cases is African American women.
Is it because? Oh, I'm up against the shark bait. I tell you what, y'all can call us at 972-647-1893, and we'll be right back. All righty, we're back on Church Information Open Forum, and you can call us at 972-647-1893. Our special guest this morning is Mr. Zach Thompson. He is the director of the Dallas Health Department, Dallas County Health Department. The director, a very, very active, persistent, hard-working man that that we have in our community. The man who introduced right here on Knon for the first time in North Texas or anywhere in the state of Texas about not HIV but crack cocaine. It was something, and everybody was stunned. I was still sitting there wondering, what is he talking about? Crack cocaine, cooking cocaine. All righty. And you say HIV, people get stoned with drugs and just might do anything.
That's right. We see there's a sting operation that goes on, a collaboration with the Dallas Police Department, mental health professionals once a month. And what they're finding is they're finding these young ladies who are selling their bodies, and the Johns are buying sex from them. And we're finding people who have HIV infection. But here's the dynamics that's a little different. The dynamics that we're focused on is the younger kids who we're seeing between 13 and 18 who are engaging in sexual activity, who are getting HIV, and it's getting younger and younger. And so while it may not be the death sentence that we saw years ago, what we're seeing is more infection, and that's going to cause the increased number of new infections in Dallas County. Everybody always say, can we look at what can Dallas County do? What can the state do? What can the feds do? No, this is a family, individual.
This is a personal
because we're not in the, when you decide to engage in a sexual relationship, unprotected, you're then taking on a risk because you don't know where that partner, you don't know their status. Everyone should be tested. And the question they always ask, how often should I be tested? As often as you have unprotected sex.
Well, and then if you've just contracted the disease within the last month or so, would it show up on that test?
It will, in terms of there is a rapid test that will be able to pick up in a 6 to 8 week period. But the key point is, in most cases, the individuals that we're seeing are already positive.
Right.
So we're dealing with the fact that people are engaging in sexual activity based on already engaging with people who are already confirmed HIV. We had a young lady that was killed here in Dallas County because she revealed to her partner that she was HIV positive, and he stabbed her brutally. It is unacceptable in our community for this to have happened to anyone, and an African American female who had children to be killed. And today, now here's the key point. Today, he's never tested positive for HIV.
She didn't give it to him.
That's my point. And
she lost her life.
She lost her life.
She revealed that she was.
And that was ignorance on our part because go get tested, know your partner, and don't engage in unprotected sex.
All right. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. Let's go to line 2 and say good morning to Mario. All righty. Good morning, Mario. I guess we held him up too long. All right, let's go to line 3 and say good morning to Casey. All righty. Good morning, Casey.
Good morning, Pastor Barnett. Good morning, Zach. This is Casey Thomas. How y'all doing?
All right. Good morning.
Hey, I wanted to thank you, Pastor Barnett, for having Zach on to talk about this topic. I know it's very timely, being National HIV Day and testing day, and but oftentimes in our community we don't have this discussion. I know recently the NAACP partnered with some churches, some of the pastors, and had a meeting about how the churches can be more proactive in this. I have 2 questions, and then I'll let you go. One is we know in the church, premarital sex is a sin, and because of that, it's caused the church to shy away from providing condoms and talking about things of that nature. My first question is, how can we overcome that stigma and get the information out? Because our kids and our people, even our elders now, with these AIDS that they're able to get, you know, how the blue pills, I can't think of Viagra and things of that nature. I'm seeing data showing that with our elder women,
that's right,
especially African American women,
that's right,
increase in HIV cases. So first question, how can we as a church or as Christians overcome this stigma about the concern of premarital sex being a sin, knowing our kids are still going to do it? What can we do about that? And then my second question is, what is it that when AIDS first began to go public, gay white men immediately began to be proactive and address it? What is it they were doing or willing to do that we have not been willing to do in our community?
All right, very good. Number one?
Well, number one, we need to, let's be real. In the churches, we know people are having sex. I mean, let's don't talk about the kids. We're talking about adults. Mm-hmm. And so every church should make available condoms. And they can do that in a secure area, but they need to really have that conversation with their congregation. Let's don't put our heads in the sand and believe that people are not having sex. We got to talk about sex education. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about protection, mm-hmm. and every church should be encouraged to have condoms available. We got a donation of condoms from the AIDS Health Foundation, mm-hmm. and so if churches need condoms, they can contact the Dallas Health Department. But you know what? If we don't deal with that, every Sunday we got people in our churches who want to hear the real message. And the real message is people going to have relationships, but that's going to be a challenge if we don't promote it.
Zach, there are a lot of preachers that are just terrified about what you just said. If he was to allow condoms to be passed out in his congregation, believe me, there is a large segment out there. I'm not talking about just a little, mm-hmm. minute crowd.
Right.
Will start screaming how he's condoning fornication. He's allowing it to happen. And there are just things in our ethnicity we have to overcome.
Right.
And the most taboo thing in the African American church is sex.
Well, that's killing us. That's killing us.
Hey, how well do I know this? But that is so taboo.
Right.
You see, most churches have just stopped bringing young ladies down and make them stand before the whole church and apologize for getting pregnant. Right. Because it was not so much that she was pregnant, it's the idea she had sex.
Well, but Casey hit on a point.
I understand.
Yeah, but Casey got a point. If the new numbers of 40-year-old, 50-year-old women who are getting HIV is increased because as people go through life changes, I'm with you. I know what the challenge is, but if they go through life changes of divorce, separation, and they get back out in this dating game, I think we're ill-advising, and I'm not a minister, but we're ill-advising our congregation by not being real with what we have out here in society.
Now, here's what. Now, the Bible has an answer. Even when it comes to that, the Bible teaches that the older women should teach the younger women. There should be classes there for them to have an open discussion with women about this.
Right.
And me and the brothers can talk about it. You know, they talk about it in there. I ain't usually lying about it. I talk about church folk, church meeting and all. They talk about it. Okay?
Right.
So it's already open to them. But women coming together and talking about this disease,
that's right.
Believe me, no, it's not a death sentence as fast as it once was. But it's still something horrific that's happening to our community, and we need to discuss it where our people gather the most.
I agree.
And that's the African American church.
And I don't know why we're not.
Well, there are a lot of deacons sitting there in some of these churches. He better not say nothing about that. And he lying to be up there, you know, he lying to biggest fornicator in the whole church. But, hello.
That's right.
It's happening, and we got to put an end to that foolishness.
That's right.
All right, 972-647-1893. Let's say good morning. You've got a physician right here on the line. Dr. Edwards. Good morning, Dr. Edwards on line 1. Bring him on, line 1.
Hey, Reverend Barnett, how you doing?
How I go, Doc? You doing all right?
I'm doing good. You got a great man on that. Zach is
he is one. Dallas is actually blessed to have him here. I can tell you.
You're the hardest worker. Do you ever rest?
Oh man, Zach
keep going.
Yeah, Zach is excellent.
Thank you.
Reverend, I just want to piggyback on what Zach has been trying to allude to. But Zach, would you agree that in 75216, I think that's the highest age zip code in Dallas? I know that 75216 is the highest zip code for diabetic.
Right.
But what has happened in South Dallas is there are no doctors to also help out with in conjunction with the church. There are no doctors because we're penalized for coming to South Dallas taking care of the sickest people.
That's right.
And I will Reverend Barnett and I will attest to the fact that in North Dallas, they have their primary care doctors. They have doctors they can call. They have doctors. Our people don't have that. And that's when they put the POCP clinics over there. We knew that was good, but that's not the best for outcome. You need primary care doctors in those communities that have that patient base that can also work in conjunction with the churches on Saturdays, put on their seminars and so forth. The church can't do it all, but there's going to have to be a team approach. But we have enough doctors because all of our doctors have been eliminated from the communities that could help out and be a part of being a part of the solution versus being a part of the problem. And I want to hear what you have to say about that. Of course, I'm one that got eliminated from the system over there, and our community definitely of doctors. We don't have any primary care doctors.
Zach, once upon a time, you had black doctors on almost every corner.
Well, and when you look at it, we really got to start promoting science. And you had in the previous with school board member Foreman, we're going to really have to focus on science in our community because the shortage. So you got two issues. You got a shortage of nurses and doctors throughout the United States, and then you have a system that is set up that a lot of people don't want to get into working in low-income communities because of the billing process.
Right.
And so we're going to have to focus on a total Dallas County health in terms of making sure that there is doctors south of the Trinity, just like there are medical providers north of the Trinity. So we're going to have to work on that disparity because, as I say every day, your health is your wealth. But if you get sick, and as the doctor pointed out, you got to have access to care, and that's the key point in our community.
Having access
to care. That's right.
Yeah. Because the less accessible it is, the less likely people are going to try to seek out and find it. But if it's right there available to you, people will grasp to it.
Well, we got to have a health component in our churches. The problem is that in the churches, and I'm not saying every church, I'm just saying there is a belief that a lot of times we don't promote getting health care. What we find in terms of African American men, we ask the question, when was the last time you had a prostate exam? When was the last time you went in for a physical?
Right.
We don't go until we get sick.
See, a lot of the reason we don't live as long as anybody else on earth, a lot of it's our fault.
That's right.
We just want to take advantage of what we have. All right, 972-647-1893 is the number to call. Let us go to line 4 and say good morning to Reverend Crenshaw.
Good morning, Reverend Dr. Barnett, and good morning, Dallas County Director of Health, the esteemed and honorable Zachary Thompson.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
This entire nation is a golden goose, virtually sitting atop Rodney, meaning designer. This is worldwide, global. You have designer genes, which leads designer maladies or diseases, and designer drugs. And that's why we have all this, all this crap entitled, it's designed by the powers that be on high, like in the Bible it tells you, wicked evil principalities in high places. And because you have population decimation, educational and mental decimation, and massive self-image deprivation, leading to
you're on the subject, Reverend Crenshaw. Let me ask
leading
that.
to our kids growing up, don't want to be nothing, ain't gonna be nothing, and ain't gonna ever be nothing because I ain't nothing. God bless you.
All right. He said something there. Is AIDS used for population control? Do you believe that?
Well, when we look at population control, we can look at historically all things that are set up that way. You got AIDS, you have substance abuse,
right?
You got violence. So when you look at things, it's all in certain communities that are eliminating ourselves. At the end of the day, we've met the enemy, and the enemy is ourselves.
Right.
How do we deal with the psychological impact of what we're going through? Let me give you a quick example. Divorce can be traumatic, right?
Right.
Death can be traumatic.
Right.
When we see those things, people don't go get help. If a person loses their job today, that's traumatic. We got a lot of things going on in our community
that works on our
minds, and yet we try to fight these battles. And first of all, I believe we got to have church, God, spiritual connection.
Yeah.
But we got less people today connecting, and we're getting more people who are turning away than are turning to, and we're seeing the destruction and elimination of
I'm saying this, you didn't say this, Zach Thomas, but many people use church for entertainment just as an emotional high. Getting down to the root and true spirituality, too many times, many of our parishioners don't get it because it's not being presented in the way it should be to lift our emotions and to lift our being, our thinking, to lift us, like you said, such traumas as a divorce, such trauma as a loss of a loved one, different things like that. You can, if you get an emotional high, you'll feel good for a moment.
That's right.
But you got to come back to earth.
That's right.
And it's not being dealt with the way it should, not in the depths of the Bible.
Right.
And many of our, I hate to say it, many of our preachers haven't been trained or have not studied well enough to deal with that situation. They're giving them an emotional pie here on earth, and you can have what you want, everything you need is here. It's a blessing waiting. All that foolishness is going on now. So this is why things are getting worse.
Yeah, we got to teach. We got an opportunity when we got a large congregation to teach.
Yeah. All right, 972-647-1893. Give me a call, and we're going into our last segment. We're going to try to move fast and get as many callers in as we possibly can. All right. We're back on Church Information and Open Forum. Our special guest this morning is Dallas County Health Director, Mr. Zach Thompson. 972-647-1893 is the number to call. Let's go to line 2 and say good morning to Mr. Petrie. All righty. Good morning,
Good morning, Rem Barnett, and good morning, Zach.
Hey, Robert.
Y'all have a powerful show this morning that our people need to be listening to. But now, what that population control is genocide in America, and when we are 13.6% of the population and 48 to 49% of the people with HIV in America, that should tell every black in America something. You know, and unprotected sex is a way that it's being, genocide is happening. In 1980, it's when AIDS came about, for my knowledge and understanding of it. And it was with the white homosexual males. But it's the same time in Africa from 1980 to 2011, 34 million black Africans died. See, so it started here, and I'm saying it's a man-made disease. It was taken from America to Africa. Now it's back in America, and it's affecting black people. So what I'd like for you to tell Zach, about us being 13.6% of the population and 49% of the new age cases, and increasing, what is that telling, and what should we do as a people? Because the church is dealing with 600 BC is what's important to them, and not what our people are dealing with in 2014. So it's going to have to, if people keep saying the church, but it ain't going to come out of the church, but it's the people that go to church is the ones that need to be dealing with that situation, and they need to be dealing with it outside the church.
Well, Robert, you raise a good point. Here's what we know, is that in terms of when HIV/AIDS impacted the white gay community, they galvanized. They focused on it was happening. They did the education. They did treatment in terms of connecting to services. But in terms of the African-American community, we don't think that it's real in our community. But the numbers definitely demonstrate that we're seeing an increased number. The new infections in Texas, in Dallas County, are African-American men who have sex with men, and then African-American women. Now, we still have new infections among homosexual, gay, white males. But the key numbers that are indicators are in the African-American community. But it goes back, when we ask individuals to name your partners. Now, I'm giving you a good example. Name your partners. They're naming 2 or 3 partners. When our staff have to go out and find these partners, we're spending a lot of time in chat rooms. You're spending a lot of times finding 2 and 3 people that they've connected with, and that is a challenge. And so the reality is that we can look at where it originated, but right now we got to look at the impact it's having on our community, and it's having a devastating effect in terms of African American, and the Hispanic population numbers are rising just as well.
Wow, this is something. This is something. But now, when we see the HIV and is rising, is it because we have a lot of our women walk the streets, catching Johns, up and down the streets and different things, and are they having sex with anybody and everybody that come along, that they have a drug addiction that causes them, that pushes them to sell their bodies in order to get money to get that high, but at the same time they're becoming infected. Is that one of the big problems in our community?
Well, shockingly, that population is considered high risk, and you are going to see numbers there. The reality is that we're talking about a young African-American female or a middle-aged African-American female who is engaging in unprotected sex with a man who is on the down low. That's how we're seeing the transmission.
So that bisexual, that is one of the main proponents that expresses.
Well, when they first talked about down low, you heard it for a minute. They were talking about it, and you don't even hear about it anymore.
No,
and that's again a reason. When I bring it up on the state or national level, I point out that the new infections that we're seeing among African American men who have sex with men, and now we're seeing the increase among African American women. Where else could it be coming from but through the down low perspective?
Okay, what about prisons? The guys getting out of prison, they're tested, but it's not revealed publicly.
Well, Robert worked on a bill with State Representative Davis, and I want to commend them for putting that bill forward, where those individuals are tested when they come out of prison. The key point is that the state, and I don't know how consistent that is in terms of the testing, but they're supposed to notify local health departments so they can follow up on those individuals. I don't have the numbers. That's something the state would have to provide, how many have been tested positive since they left prison.
But if you are a sex offender, you have to register.
You have to register.
But you can be carrying a deadly virus, and nobody will ever know.
No, you're counseled in the fact that if you've been diagnosed with and you're positive for HIV/AIDS, you are counseled to make sure that you understand you cannot have unprotected sex.
But they're not put on a registry.
I've never heard of a registry. No,
so that's protected.
Your medical, under HIPAA, you are protected.
No. 972-647-1893. Let's go to Stephen on line 3. All righty. Good morning, Stephen.
How you doing this morning, Pastor.
Good, fine. How are you doing, Stephen?
Okay, and Dr. Thomas.
Well, Zach,
I normally be at the service station on Hampton early in the morning. I ain't seen you lately, so I know you're a man that get up and do what you're supposed to do.
I do it early.
Man, you must get gas everywhere. I see you all. I didn't see you getting gas.
Everywhere. I'll tell you, but what I want to say, Pastor, I don't know if y'all agree with this, but I think it should start in the church. The reason I say that, because first of all, the doctrine that we are being taught, it's not of God. I don't feel like that, because if these teachers would teach the true word of God, then we'll keep our clothes on like we supposed to. I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, well, the churches, I think, is teaching that and preaching that, but at the same time, you do have people, and they have members that pull their clothes off, okay? So they're going to do that, and we need to get to the point where we're mature enough to face reality that we've got a scourge out here that we've never seen before, never dealt with. Things came in the 20th century, and the last, say, 30 years of the 20th century, like hit us like a ton of bricks that we've never seen before.
That's right.
I don't know. Zach, where do you think AIDS come from?
Well, they've been able to trace it back to Africa. One of the things that Robert brought up is a good point. They've been able to see where the origination of AIDS. Now, in terms of...
Do you really believe that?
Well, I think what I believe is that we have a virus, and so it goes back to the substance abuse, the drugs.
Could it be a man-made?
I think you got all options, but they're able to trace it. Science that they're able to trace it. But here's the key point: is that when you look at, we have a virus just like crack that we have here.
Right.
At the end of the day, you brought up a good point. The mature women need to be training these young ladies, because your point is taken. Sex is natural. And so I don't know why, you raise a good point. People are going to do it.
They're going to do this.
Right.
I don't care how hard we preach or teach or whatever. People going to do that.
They're going to do it. And so we have to focus on we're talking about a lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, a quality of life, as opposed to being in somebody's bedroom. That's not the concern. But again, where it originates, and I've said this even on substance abuse and even with AIDS, where it originates, we may debate that, but what we know today is it's in our community, and we got to do something about it.
Yeah, we got to deal with it.
We got to deal with it.
No matter where it was created.
That's right.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Nationally, in every major city where you find minorities in increased numbers, you're going to see HIV numbers off the roof.
All right. All right, let's go to line one and say good morning to Eddie. All righty? Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning.
How are you, Eddie?
Great, Reverend. You know, education. I've always thought that propaganda, education, a cooperative type environment, such as something as simple as a billboard in the urban areas. There was a man in Atlanta years ago at 7 a.m., 12 noon, and in the evening he'd have people walking around with signs saying, "What are we going to do about apartheid in South Africa?" Well, I think there should be an intensive campaign, strategically located billboards, black-on-black crime, STD, and drugs, where people can see that old statement, out of sight, out of mind is not true. It's out of mind, out of sight. So we should have an intense campaign, maybe the churches, and have money with billboards everywhere, because people see things daily, like advertisements on television. You go to the store because you see a certain toothpaste commercial or whatever, and it has to be intense, 24/7, 365.
Is there a budget allowance in your department for you to do so much advertising?
Well, on a national level, we're very fortunate that you will see campaigns like today is HIV Awareness Day. Right. They work with the Greater Than AIDS campaign. One of the things that we have to promote with these national campaigns is that they need to be a local campaign. So we don't have a budget. But in terms of these national campaigns, I've told the federal government that we got to focus, just what he pointed out, you got to focus on a localized, what may be working in Atlanta may not work in Dallas. You got to localize it and have input.
Okay, are there places right now that people can get tested?
Yes.
They open today?
They open today. We got the Walgreens location. You can go to our website at Dallas. Dallas County. Go to our website, and I don't have all the specific locations, but they have the Walgreens. They're testing at various locations. If you go to our webpage at Dallas County Health and Human Services, and you can click on the testing locations. Monday through Friday, you can come down to Dallas County Health and Human Services and get tested for STDs, HIV tests. And you can also go to your physician office to get HIV test. Confidentiality is a key point. AIDS Health Network. You have a lot of programs out there. AIDS Arms. You got a lot of programs out there that are doing testing. The key point in terms of the African American community is they got to get tested. They got to get tested as often as they have unprotected sex. Eliminate these extra partners and get one partner, and therefore you can reduce the infection
You're
rate.
Challenging the brothers
and the ladies too. It's a challenge on both.
And now I've noticed there's one there on Martin Luther King and Essex Wright Freeway.
Yeah.
It's I see a van out there.
Yeah, Abounding Prosperity. Kurt Myers over at Abounding Prosperity, they do testing.
Yeah, they're out there with signs trying to get people to come in.
That's right. So that's a good example of a program that's out there in the community.
Do you know one that you noticed somewhere in Oak Cliff, Cedar Hill, DeSoto area? Have you noticed one?
Not in the urban, not in those suburban areas. So a lot of times we take our mobile clinic out to those areas. But a lot of people, just in the STDs alone, we see over 20,000 people that are coming in for sexually transmitted disease. That tells me how many people are having unprotected sex.
Oh Lord! All right. We're going to try to let's get Reverend Wright in, and then we go to our job line. Bring me on line number 4. Bring me on 4. Reverend Wright.
Good morning, Pastor. How you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Zach, how you doing?
What's
brother?
going on, Reverend Wright? Good to hear you.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
Good to hear you. Got a great show. I'm going to kind of swiftly run through these. I know you got Greg on the line. I personally believe back in 1981, Pastor, I received a call from a white gentleman out in California and said this was a created disease that was to attack on the African American man majority. And they used the homosexual men as an example to see, and before they went to Africa, to see what it would do. So at the end of the day, the church do need to stand and help Zach and them with what they're doing. But we don't want to preach about the homosexual acts because we lose our piano player, our choir director. But God don't hate the homosexual, he hates the homosexuality. And so we do need to help him. And there is some money, Zach, that the city can put together. If we quit paying millions of dollars out for these unarmed police shootings, that's millions of dollars you can use to advertise on the AIDS program that you're trying to do. So we study kicking money out. But I want to announce this past part go. Today we're having the Kelly Alert March to put out the Kelly Alert. But Lisa Kelly, they're going to do the following steps that she did before she was murdered, before she come up missing. They're going to do that on Overton and Bunnyville at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock?
I just want to get that at 11 o'clock today. I just want to get that out. Next week, we're going to have some more news. Zach, I don't know if you know it or not, but Little Drummer's coming down on Dallas County next week. It has nothing to do with you. But they still live in the 60s, and we're going to send them a little message.
All righty.
So you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your call. All right. That's Overton and Bonneview at 11 o'clock. Everybody ought to show up there. All right. Let's go to our job line. And good morning to Mr. Greg Barber. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Reverend Barnett.
Fine. How are you this morning?
Doing fine.
Any jobs out there?
There are some jobs out here this morning on our SAT job line. That's Solutions and Excellence Today job line. Brought to you every Saturday morning during church information and open forum here on Knon 89.3, the voice of the people. This morning on the job line, we have Johnson Controls is looking for customer service representative asking you to apply online at www.johnson, JOHNSONCO, johnsoncontrols.taleo.net. That's JOHNSONCONTROLS.taleo.net. Once again, that's www.johnsoncontrols.taleo.net. Walters and Kluwer is looking for customer service representatives. The number for inquiry is 888-494-495-4772. Once again, that number for inquiry is 888-495-4772, or you can apply online at www.walterskluwer.com. That's www.walterskluwer.com. KLWER.com. Jet Aviation is looking for a customer service representative to ask you to fax cover letter and your resume to 214-351-4216. Once again, that's Jet Aviation is looking for customer service representatives asking you to fax your resume and cover letter to 214-351-4216. Ready Ice is looking for customer service representatives asking you to apply online at www.readyice.com. Once again, that's Ready Ice is looking for customer service representatives asking you to apply online at www.readyice.com. Nestle is looking for warehouse workers asking you to apply online at www.nestleusa.taleo.net. Once again, Nestle USA is looking for warehouse workers asking you to apply online at www.nestleusa.taleo.net. Southwest Forklift is looking for warehouse forklift operators. The number for inquiry is 972-243-0400. Once again, Southwest Forklift operators. Southwest Forklift is looking for warehouse forklift operators. The number for inquiry is 972-243-0400. You are a child-loving, patient, and energetic individual and would like to work in the daycare setting. The number for inquiry is 972-290-4995. Once again, if you are a child-loving, patient, and energetic individual and would like to work in a daycare setting, the number for inquiry is 972-290-4995. You are a person affected by addiction and needs assistance with your recovery, or an ex-offender trying to make the transition back to mainstream society and needs assistance with job search. The number for inquiry is 214-634-2722. Once again, if you are a person affected by addiction and needs assistance with your recovery effort, or an ex-offender trying to make the transition back to mainstream society and needs assistance with job search, the number for inquiry is 214-634-2722. Today is a good day if you're looking for a job to find one. Let me repeat that. Today is a good day if you're looking for a job to find one. The late, great Bob Marley once said, get up, stand up. Stand up for your right. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. And with that, we bring our SAT job line to a close.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mr. Zach Thomas. Thank you for all the information. You're coming up. You've got workers meet. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. You're always invited to Heavenly Joy Church. So may the Lord bless you. You have a good weekend.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.